You login, it's me.
Hi. I'm actually, why can't I hear you?
I don't know. I don't think
Oh, my volume was off. I'm going to log in the other way. Because that's I'm on my iPad right now.
Okay.
Oh, my hair. Will you let me in?
That's funny. Yeah.
Look.
The music. Because it's a rap version of Mozart.
Oh, my music?
Yeah.
You ever heard this?
Boys and girls, listen
This
up.
is Nas.
Be anything in the world, and God we trust. An architect, doctor, maybe an actress. But nothing comes easy. It takes much practice. Like I met a woman who's becoming a star. She was very beautiful, leaving people in awe. Singing songs, Lena Horne, but the younger version hung with the wrong person. Got her strong with that herb.
Thank you, Jenna.
Sniffing up drugs, all in the nose. Could have died so young, now looks ugly and old. No fun, cause now when she reaches for hugs, people hold their breath. Cause she smells of corrosion and death. Watch the company you keep and the crowd you bring. Cause they came to do drugs and you came to sing. So if you're gonna be the best, I'ma tell you how. Put your hands in the air and take a bow. I can be what I wanna be. If I work hard at it, I'll be where I wanna be.
I know I can be what I wanna be. If I work hard at it, I'll be where I wanna be.
Boys and girls, listen again. This is for
Are you going to stream it live to Facebook, or do you want to make me the host and I'll do it?
I thought you wanted it on your page. I can't put it on your page.
Okay, so am I the host?
Not yet.
Okay.
I gotta remember how to do that.
I'm now the host.
So young boys, you can use a lot of help, you know. You're thinking life's all about smoking weed and ice. You don't want to be my age and can't read and write. Begging different women for a place to sleep at night. Smart boys turn them in and do whatever they wish. If you believe you can achieve it, say it like this. I know I can be what I want to be. If I work hard at it, I'll be where I want to be. Now, go. Before we came to this country, we were kings and queens, never porch monkeys. There was empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get books to learn from black teachers who taught Greeks and Romans, Asian Arabs, and gave them gold. When gold was converted to money, it all changed. Money then became empowerment for Europeans. The Persian military invaded. They heard about the gold, the teachings, and everything sacred. Africa was almost robbed naked. Slavery was money, so they began making slave ships. Egypt was the place that Alexander the Great went. He was shocked that the mountains were black faces, shot up their nose to impose what basically still goes on today.
Right.
You see,
Should be all set.
The youth can grow. They learn to survive until they gain control. Nobody says you have to be gangsters, hoes. Read more, learn more, change the globe. Ghetto children, do your thing. Hold your head up, little man, you're a king. Young princess, when you get your wedding ring, your man is saying, she's my queen. I know I can be what I wanna be. If I work hard at it, I'll be where I wanna be.
I know I can be what I wanna be. If I work hard at it, I'll be where I wanna be.
Save the music, y'all. Save the music, y'all. Save the music, y'all. Save the music, y'all. Save the music.
Someone right now leaving their apartment, looking down at the street and wondering where their car went. Someone in a car sitting at a signal in front of a restaurant, staring through the window. It's someone right now with their finger in their teeth who could use a little floss. Right across the street, there's somebody on the curb who really needs a jacket. Spent half the rent at the bar getting plastered. Now he's got to walk 14 blocks just to work at a shop where he's about to get fired. Someone right now is looking pretty tired, staring at a laptop, trying to get inspired. There's somebody living right across the street, just wrote the best thing that she's written all week. But her best friend's coughing up blood in the sink. He can't even think what happened. Feeling so confused, and he knows it looks bad, but there's nothing he can do. I wonder what it's like to be right there in his shoes. But yo, just taking it in out the window of a hotel. Better begin tomorrow. I'm gone. I don't know when I'll be back. But in this world, everything can change just like that, just like that, just like that, just like that, just like that. Just like that.
Yo, somebody right now is dropping his vote inside a box and trying to knock a shot in his throat for the act of freedom. Right now, somebody's stuck in Iraq, hoping that he gets shit back breathing in a war, but he's not really sure of the reasons. So we show our support when the press mislead him. Though we more remain proud, salute the troops. Get some, I know you boys got some work to do.
Meanwhile, right now, someone's 25 to life and standing on the corner with their thumb up, hitchhiking, scratching off a lotto ticket, hoping for a real winner, sneaking through the border just to work and eat a real dinner. Right now, someone wishes they were you and I, instead of second guessing fatal thoughts of quiet suicide. But right now, staring at the window
I
at
could
a
get used to this.
in his arm and
Huh?
I could get used to this.
This music?
Yeah.
But yo, I'm just taking it in for a second, so we hope to have window again.
This is Fort Minor Radio.
Like actual FM radio?
No, there's a band called Fort Minor.
Yeah. Right now, somebody's sitting in the darkness trying to figure out how to put some heat in their apartment. But they got a little mattress, little coffee, and they appreciate it because some people on the bar bench. You see them when you rushing to get to the office. White fry bomb when she coming from the market. Right now, somebody coming out the pocket trying to dump that rock. They run around the block with same time the cops is raising the clock with ink to fill your legs and your back with some hot shit. Right now, somebody's struggling to stop this man who's kicking and punching and cussing at the doctors. Down on the child taking his first breath. The doctors ain't even passed him to the nurse yet. Yo, I wonder if he understand what it's worth yet. Like the time spent while we here on the earth yet. The answer to the questions we all see can be found. It depends on how free y'all think. Right now, it's somebody who ain't eat all week that will kill for the shit you throw away in the street. I guess one man's trash is the next man's treasure. One man's pain is the next pleasure. One say infinity, the next say forever. Right now, everybody got to get it together, man. I'm just taking it in another strange hotel lobby again. Put my luggage on my back, I don't know where I'm at. I'm in a world where it all changes like this. Like this.
I'm just taking it in out the window of a hotel. Better begin tomorrow. I'm gone. I don't know when I'll be back. But in this world, everything can change just like that. Just like that.
What up, Kim? All right. Maybe we'll leave the music on a little bit. Get it going. So I'm saying.
There it is.
Am I on?
You are.
Go on.
No gimmicks.
Two trailer park girls go round the outside, round the outside, round the
That
outside.
one I know.
Two trailer park girls go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside.
Guess who's back, back, again. Shady's back, back.
It's like the perfect entrance music. Guess who's
It
back?
really
Right?
is.
We do this every day.
I created a monster, cause nobody wants to see Marshall no more. They want Shady, I'm top living. Well, if you want Shady, this is what I'll give you. A little bit of weed mixed with some hot liquor, some vodka that'll jumpstart my heart quicker than a shock when I get shot operating. When I'm rocking the table while he's operating.
Well,
You
it's not
waited
working.
long to stop debating, cause I'm back, I'm on the track and populating. I know that you got a job, Janie, but your husband.
Is it not going to Facebook?
So the FCC won't let me
Yeah, it says it's setting it up.
They try to shut me down on MTV, but it feels so empty without me. So come on and dip, come on your lips, talk that, come on your lips, come on your tips and get ready.
Should've got the censored version, I guess.
Which one is that?
All right. We are live on Facebook. Maddox is entering the room. Okay. Yeah, Cece, you've never heard of Fort Minor?
No?
It's like the guys from Linkin Park, and it's like half of the guys from Linkin Park and then some other guys.
Who? What's the name of it?
Fort Minor is the name of a band. Or
My
they've done a
mom
lot of-
likes Linkin Park. That's sad. And Metallica.
Oh, come on.
Well, it's the guys. It's half of the guys from Linkin Park, but they did like they bring in like different lead singers all the time to like they've done like a bunch of mix-ups with like Jay-Z and a couple of other people. I'm sure you've heard one of their songs on the radio. You just don't realize it. But it's a really, really good radio station.
Guess where I am?
On your boat?
Yeah. It's my husband's only day off in like 15 days.
Oh,
Say hi, honey.
I say he deserves it.
Yes. Atrium Healthcare.
Go.
Yep.
We were just talking about Atrium Healthcare earlier today.
Look at there. I'm so loyal.
You are, and we love you for
Yeah.
You loyal, or is that just the boat koozie?
Yeah. I'm loyal.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get rocking and rolling here. So let's get some feedback from you guys real quick. What did you guys think of yesterday?
Loved it. I like him. I would almost hire him as a coach if I had some money.
Well, we'll get you selling them houses, and then you can go ahead and hire him as a coach. He's my coach, as I think I said yesterday.
Oh, is he? I must have missed that.
Yeah, he's my maps coach. Just a really informative guy. Knows a lot. He's a team leader, an OP, and a maps leadership coach, and a rainmaker of a team. So he's got a lot of plates spinning, so to speak. But very, very motivational. Him and I are kind of in the same vein, which is probably why we were paired together by Matt Teeter. So, but yeah, I thought it was really good. And you guys know me, I kind of geek out on numbers. I actually took the little math problem he was doing and took it even further. And so I'm not going to bore you guys to death with that stuff. But I will go through just briefly in that economic model. Where did I put it? There it is. So that breakdown that he was doing with the agents, I said, well, what if the agents were only making $5,000 on an average transaction, right? Was kind of coming up with a formula for like somebody on a team or whatever. And just by doing that, you do like 1.5 transactions a week. And that would be the 70, if you put in 70 hours. So I did this with a little role play with somebody else. And they said, I work 70 hours a week. I said, okay, so if you do transaction is 48 hours, as he was telling us, that's 1.5 transactions a week. And if you do that over 48 weeks in the year, right? We know there's 52, but you can have some vacations, some holidays. So if you do that over the 48 weeks in a year, that's 360,000 GCI. Now that's you just going nonstop. Now you go ahead and drop that to the 13 hours like he was talking about, and now your 1.5 transactions a week goes to 5.4 transactions. If you're working a 70-hour work week, obviously if you want to work a little bit less, that number is going to drop a little. Yet that's what this example was. But your transactions your transactions would jump from doing 72 a year to doing 259. If you were just go, 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 go. And so the GCI goes from 360,000 up to just shy of 1.3 million. And this was off of if you were paying a part-time assistant $20 an hour. And if you were paying a part-time assistant $20 an hour, he would have made an income of $181,300. So it was really kind of cool to look at the numbers and just play with it just a little bit. So can't see if people are on. Gotta go somewhere to see on the Facebook.
I think Christy's trying to join too. I'm sending her that link you sent me.
Okay. I'm on it through my page, but I haven't seen any comments, so I can't tell. It says Chelsea's on. Chelsea, if you can hear me, make a comment so I can see if I'm getting comments. All right. Go ahead and get started. So what we're talking about today is tactic 12, bulletproofing your transactions. And so what are the issues and solutions? So let's just open this up for a little bit of conversation. What do you guys see as a potential pitfall in a transaction? What could happen?
Inspections?
Inspections, maybe they can't come to an agreement. That could be a pitfall, sure. What else?
Appraisal?
Appraisal could be an issue. Anything that's going to squash the deal, right? What about clear expectations around a due diligence period? So, for example, this may sound fairly common knowledge, yet where else can we apply it? So, for example, when we're talking about bulletproofing our transactions, you're not just writing an offer, right? You guys have to go through and set up what the full picture looks like for that buyer, just using a buyer as an example. And so what I would do is I would go ahead and I would say, okay, this buyer is going to go under contract on, April 30th. As a result, we're going to close May 25th. So we need to do a due diligence period inside of there for about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit longer because of everything that's going on with COVID right now. We'll do a 3-week due diligence period. We're going to put X amount in due diligence, Y amount in earnest money, and set them up. Now, I know that you guys are like, yeah, PJ, that's pretty simple, right? Pretty straightforward. So what other areas can we go to help to bulletproof the transactions? On your listing side, are you guys doing a seller net sheet every single time? If you're not, you need to be, right? You need to be going ahead and setting those clear expectations so the people know what they're going to walk away from their house with. A lot of people don't know what excise tax is. How much are they going to have to pay in excise tax? Well, we all know that it's $2 for every 1,000 that the property sells for, but the majority of an average Joe Schmo doesn't know that. Well, you're talking about a $400,000 house. You're talking about $800. Well, wait a second. PJ, you didn't tell me about that $800. Now we need to negotiate for a higher price on the house, right? You can run into a lot of these little things. So a lot of times we bulletproof our transactions. What we want to do is we want to go forward and take some extra steps so that we're not running into problems. We're not running into issues around anything, right? So, for example, it's what's called playing heads up, right? So Kim gave us the first two, inspections and repairs, whether they're major, minor, whatever. If the buyer and seller can't come to an agreement on it, that's the very first big pitfall. So what do we do when we're talking about a property that's older than 1978, right? Our first recommendation should be to the clients, hey, the property is older than 1978, so we do have to check about lead-based paint or asbestos. And, if we see something, you see those little 10-inch by 10-inch square tiles, you guys need to know that those are asbestos shingles. Now, some are, some aren't. Yet if you see them in the house, you need to go ahead and get that looked at. The asbestos shingles that were done on houses, or the asbestos siding as they call it, right? You guys need to know what that looks, because once it cracks, becomes friable, that's when it could be a potential hazard. You guys do not want to get caught up in something like that, right? Where there's a potential hazardous thing on the property, okay? Same thing with polybutylene piping, right? Polybutylene piping was the largest largest lawsuit in American history, $980 million. Okay. And they say to fix it, you have to put the brass fittings in instead of the polybutylene plastic ones that were there. Yet, a lot of what they don't tell you as well is that the rest of the polybutylene piping still has that material in it. So if you really want to do it the right way, and you've got somebody that's a high C or they're a little bit over the top, hey, Christy, you know, those people are going to say, I want the plumbing ripped all the way out, right? So we need to have those conversations whenever we're dealing with those years and those time frames, aside from anything else that may be running into an inspection or repair issue. Kim also told us appraisals, right? If it doesn't appraise for whatever reason, or what if you're doing an FHA, a VA, or a USDA loan? The appraiser actually acts in part as an inspector. For example, one of the biggest things that gets turned back on a VA inspection, or I'm sorry, a VA appraisal, is the fact that the back deck is painted, yet the paint is chipping. Well, this is a law that's been on the books because of lead-based paint back in the day, which we don't use anymore, yet they just haven't changed the rule with VA right now, saying that if there's any chipping paint anywhere, it has to be sanded down, repainted, or a VA loan will not go through. They probably need to update that one. FHA, you guys were on 2 days ago when I was talking about purchasing a foreclosed property with an FHA loan. One of the reasons why you start off with an FHA loan, even if you're going to end up with a conventional, is because if the water heater, the furnace, or even, and this is where you usually see it, there's a crack in the windowsill, right? Those are all FHA loan violations that have to be fixed by the seller. They do not go through because it's a federally backed loan. And again, it's going to be that appraiser. You guys know why we ask, has there been an FHA appraisal done on the property in the last 6 months? Because it sticks with it. And if there's any notations of things like a cracked windowsill or the water heater's not operating properly, they're going to go ahead and notate that. And as a result, those things better be fixed. FHA loan's not going to go through. VA loans, the seller has to pay for the wood destroying insect report. So Kim, you go get a listing and you've got somebody buying it with a VA loan. You don't know this. And all of a sudden your seller comes to you all pissy and says, well, you know what, Kim, I have to pay for the wood destroying insect report. It's $300. You didn't tell me I was going to have to pay for that. So you have to pay for it, right? Or they're going to ask you for it or whatever. So by bulletproofing our transactions, we know that when an FHA loan comes in, that's the first thing we got to let our sellers know. Hey, just FYI, when you do accept this, you are going to be paying for the WDIR report, or WDI, yeah. I said it wrong, but you know what I'm saying, termite report, right? And so you're going to be having to pay for that. So that way, what we're doing is we're just avoiding any hiccups or any bumps in the road that could come up throughout the transaction. So let's talk about a couple more. Loan approval and funding. Well, I know you guys are all rock star agents, right? So you're not waiting and getting a loan approval at the last minute, right? You're getting a loan approval before you even go under contract on your buy side, or if you're on the list side, you're making sure that you ensure you've got a full pre-approval, or, and I just see Laurie Huffman jumped on, like Movement Mortgage does a pre-approval TBD, right? To be determined, okay? And they're basically all the way through underwriting. I'm sure she can comment better on that than I can. So loan approval, funding issues. What we've been talking about the last couple of days, down payment assistance is gone now. Pretty much because a lot of the lenders are not going to take on the risk because they said if that person loses their job, that's it, I'm done. And then Movement Mortgage or whoever.
So he's going to be 2 years on the job, May 14th.
Laurie, mute yourself, please. But Movement Mortgage or whoever the loan company is going to have to eat that down payment assistance. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to be a challenge in itself. Actually, I can just mute her and I just figured it out. So don't worry about it. Any other contingencies? So if there's a contingent upon sale, right? If you guys get an offer on one of your properties and it's contingent upon them selling their other house first, you're going to sit down, you're going to have that conversation with them. You're going to say, hey, you know what? Guys, just so you know, this what does that contingency mean, right? I don't know. I'm not a real estate agent. So we need to sit down and explain to them and say, all right, this is what that could look like. Let's find out, is the property even listed right now, right? Because I don't want to accept the contingency if it's not listed. If it's listed and on the market, I'm 50-50. If it's listed and under contract, that's the most attractive contingency we can have. And you can have additional contingencies, obviously. That's probably just the most common one that we're going to run into as real estate agents. Co-op agents, right? We were talking yesterday, or Rob was talking yesterday, to the know-it-alls of real estate, right? Guys, I don't care who you're talking to right now. If somebody gives you, even if it's me, and I give you a quick answer right now and I say, no, that's not right, because in the time of COVID, all the stuff is changing right now. Okay, a lot of rules are changing. Do you guys know the requirements around a bedroom has changed in our association over the last couple of months, okay? I can now call my house a 7-bedroom house because of the 2 points of easement for what they had to do for some of the loft property. Yet I'm gonna get an agent that looks at it and says, PJ, that's a 6-bedroom, that's not a 7-bedroom because it doesn't have a closet. And technically it's not considered a functional bedroom, right? Yet it can still be considered a bedroom. So whenever you're hearing anything from any of these co-op agents or whatever, guys, check with me, check with Rob, okay? We'll get you the answer around it. I just spoke with somebody from our office who said that they had not seen that photographers were essential again. Pulled up the thing, was able to send it to them so they can be better educated. All right, deadlines. So we were already talking about kind of due diligence period. That's the most important thing when it comes to this. Yet understand that, let's say you have some sort of a special condition. Let's say you're building, okay, and you're going to be putting in a septic tank, and you have to wait to get the septic tank approval on that property. So if somebody's buying raw land, they want to go ahead and they're going to just raw land, not that there's a builder in the neighborhood or anything I'm talking about. You're going to need to go ahead and get that, and sometimes that's going to push things back. I know, I'm not sure who does North Carolina. DieTech is what does South Carolina. We were on a 5-week, and this was a year or so ago. We were on a 5-week wait for that. Now, South Carolina doesn't have due diligence. It's a little bit different. Yet the thing was, we had to go ahead and adjust dates so that earnest money was protected. So just to be mindful. Other situations when it comes to bulletproofing your transactions, that's what we're talking about. So the mortgage funding that's going to come into play, right? There's the 7 don'ts of mortgage funding. Don't change your employment status, right? You guys may think that's pretty common knowledge, yet it happens. Don't make any major purchases. Again, another bulletproof. Talk to your buyers. Don't go and purchase a new car right before you buy the house. Or maybe they're buying the house, and as we know, a lot of times, refrigerator, washer, dryer don't convey with property. So I go to Lowe's and I drop $2,000 on, or probably even more. Like I'm fancy. I want to drop like $6,000 on, that nice $4,000 refrigerator, this, that, and the other thing. And I do it 3 days before closing. Well, what happens? My DTI gets thrown off and now I can't close, right? So no major purchases. Don't increase your credit card debt or miss any payments in that period. There's a level that you want to keep your credit cards under. Typically, you always want to keep them under 50%. However, guys, I'm not a loan officer. Talk to Lori, talk to whoever you guys are using as your loan officer to get the answers to those questions. Don't change any bank accounts or make undisclosed large deposits. That can look as if you were getting a gift or something like that. Gifts are allowed. Don't apply for a credit card or co-sign on a loan or make an additional credit inquiries, okay? Don't say, hey, you know what? I'm going to buy a new car when this is all done, so I'm going to go around and I'm going to get my credit pulled at every single dealership in town, right? Now, in the time frame, that's fine. So you should only hit you once. Just don't do it. These are things that our clients don't think of on the regular, okay? Don't spend money you have set aside for closing. Not ever, okay? And don't delay and providing all paperwork asked for by the mortgage company. Guys, you guys are rock stars. I know you are. You wouldn't be on here. You guys are going to be the ones that are getting all that information to your loan officers ahead of time. So we're not running into this. We're running into these hiccup issues at the last minute. Now you say, okay, PJ, what can I do when I'm on the listing side? You guys are in your absolute right to reach out and talk to that loan officer. And usually what I like to do is I reach out and just give the loan officer a friendly phone call before we're even under contract. I kind of want to get their feeling and know where they're at. So on the buy side, you guys better educate your loan officers that, hey, I want your help, I want your assistance, I want your guidance, I want whatever. And we want to make sure that our client looks in the best light possible. If I call up Lori and I'm like, hey, Lori, I see that you're working with Kim on this deal. I'm the listing agent. Just wanted to find out, I saw a pre-qualification, but I didn't see a pre-approval. Wanted to find out where the buyers were in the process. I don't want to know the details. I just want to know, are they able to close on this? Are they able to be pre-approved right now or not? That's what I want to know. And so, guys, reaching out and doing those little extra steps will really help you. And it's really part of our fiduciary duty and responsibility to our sellers. It talks about parties to the transaction and what you guys should have. So who do we have in a transaction? We'll get a little interaction going on here, right? I've got a buyer, right? Who else do I got? Seller. I see Kim saying seller up there, right? Okay, so you got buyers, you got sellers, you got listing agents, you got buyer's agents. Maybe those agents have an admin on their team, so there's 2 admins involved. We've got a home inspector. If there's any co-op agents, there could be additional. We've got a lender, loan officer. We've got an appraiser. Did I say home inspector already? I may have said home inspector already. Okay. You've got the attorney. Got the attorney's paralegal, right? That they're going to be in more communication, right? And then let's not forget, oh, by the way, we said 1 buyer, 1 seller. What if they're married, right? So that's 2 more people. And then what happens if the buyers are actually first-time home buyers and mom and dad want to get in on the process, right? You guys know you've all dealt with that before. Guys, I just listed off 15 people that all have an opinion about this one transaction, okay? Maybe those opinions don't line up. Would you believe that? The sellers and the buyers aren't on the same page with the value of the property, okay? Right? Of course, right? Yeah, exactly, Christy, right? Oh my God, my mind is blown. My point is you've got so many different people. This is an opportunity for you guys to really bulletproof your transactions. Train your inspector. If your inspector is coming in and scaring the crap out of your buyers, go find a new inspector. Like, that is not their job. Their job is to report the news and be factual. Their job is not to be like, oh, I would not buy this house. Let me tell you that. I'm like, really? Same thing with your loan officers, right? If I'm working with a buyer and I've got Lori as my loan officer, she better be presenting them in the best light possible when the listing agent calls them, right? And I know she will, okay? So who else are you guys running into during these transactions? Appraisers are a little bit hands-off, right? But they still have an opinion. They've got a very strong opinion in this whole situation, right? And so focus on who you guys have around you, because when it comes to what I call allied resources or ancillary services, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go look at our vendor wall, okay? Any vendor that is working with you guys, they should be making your life easier. If the vendor is making your life more difficult, go find a different vendor in that same category. This is the reason, okay? And I've got an analogy for this, and I don't have a dry erase board here. As a real estate agent, we're the taxi cab driver on the highway. And we've got our clients in the back, we're taking them for a ride. And we pull into that first lane, that loan officer lane. And we kind of hand them off to the loan officer, and they go through everything they need to go through with the loan officer. And then we move them into the next lane, the showing lanes, right? I'm working with the buyer, okay? Showing houses, getting out there, seeing different things. Then we're gonna find a property that we wanna go under contract with. We need to move back into that loan officer lane, have a conversation with the loan officer, give them the taxes on the property, all of those things. Then what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to shoot over 2 lanes and go ahead and get the inspector book so the inspector can go out to the house. And then we're gonna take them to the attorney to get the attorney set up. And then we're gonna come back to the inspector lane for the inspection and get all of our reports. then we're going to go back into that showing lane, or now the listing agent lane, and we may have to renegotiate some repairs. If anything changes with that, or we're going to have to do something with the loan, we're going to have to bump back into the lender lane. And then finally, we're going to go up to the appraisal lane. And then finally, we're going to hit the lawyer lane and we're going to close. So that's your highway. And I call real estate agents the taxi driver, because through all of these steps, they're communicating with us. As Rob told us yesterday, they have to know you, they have to like you, they have to trust you in order to work with you. And so when we're looking at the highway, so to speak, of the real estate transaction, I need all of those people in those lanes to be making my life easier, to be taking things off of my plate, right? I don't need more, you're going to have to wait, or I'm going to have to do this, or whatever it may be, right? Or an inspector scaring the crap out of my people, right? You don't need that, because it's not going to help benefit you in any way, shape, or form. It's going to give you added stress. It may take longer to close on a deal. And then when it all comes to fruition or whatever, you're going to spend more hours on that real estate transaction where you could have been out getting more business. And so as we talked about yesterday, 48 hours in a real estate transaction, what happens when it's 70? Well, now you guys are doing almost double the work, or 1.5 times the work, right? If I'm putting in 70 hours to one real estate transaction, then I really need to be. Do you guys use a contract to close checklist? If not, message me. Do you guys have something in place that's going to be like, okay, hey, we're under contract here. I've got a visual that I give to both buyers and sellers, North Carolina and South Carolina, as to what a due diligence period looks like. It was kind of funny. You can have reasons or results. You can't have both. You guys know that bold law. And so the biggest objection that I kept getting was people were not understanding this thing called due diligence. And if you're in South Carolina, it's a computation of days, which is even more convoluted, okay? Not knocking South Carolina. I'm just saying they're very different from one another. So what we did is, myself and another agent, we came up with a visual that kind of shows jumps. And I'm happy to share that, guys, with you if you want. And what I would do is I would put it in with my listing packet, or I'd put it in with my buyer consultation. And then when they were ready to go under contract, or somebody was putting an offer on the property, I'd say, okay, guys, go ahead and pull out the due diligence sheet in your packet. And they would be like, oh, okay, because they completely forgot anything I had told them about due diligence. That was another way to bulletproof my transactions. Do you guys have an inspection checklist, right? We have an inspection checklist of things that we want the seller to do prior to the inspection going out. A couple of those things. If there's a light bulb out in the house, fix it. Why? Because we know the inspector is going to say, oh, there's a bulb out, recommend a licensed electrician, and we know it just needs to replace a light bulb, right? What about the garage, right? If there's stuff up against the wall in the garage, a lot of inspectors will say, I can't inspect it. So everything in the garage moved away from the wall 6 inches. That's usually where they're looking or doing their termite report. So maybe not the home inspector, but the WDIR, right? The other thing is the vents. I've heard people say, just take the filters out. Do not take the filters out, okay? But make sure that they're fresh filters in there. I had a house in Highland Creek that I listed probably like 3 or 4 years ago. And the buyer's agent came out, they did their inspection, and the air wasn't pulling the right way. Well, this was a vacant home, and it had been vacant for some time. I'm not sure exactly how long. And so an HVAC guy came out, and he said, you got to replace the unit. It's going to be $7,000, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right, I'm going to get my own HVAC guy to come out and take a look. I paid $65 out of my pocket. You should have seen how caked these filters were. There was no issue. There was nothing wrong with the HVAC. Yet this guy, I don't know if he was trying to rip me off and wanted to get $7,000 or whatnot. And when I went back and showed that to the people backed out of the deal. So I don't know if they were trying to do something shady or something else. Yet again, bulletproofing your transactions. If somebody puts something in writing, it's on the sellers if they want to go get their own inspections done as well, right? Because that is opinion. All right, so proactive prevention. talking about what we need to do to make sure, and you guys got to understand that right now in the time of COVID, this is going to be a little bit different, right? Communication, number one, top thing that you need to have, okay? Any type of proactive prevention, and no assuming, almost, most of the time, kinda, I think it is, but no. You know what, Christy, that's a great question. I'm gonna go and get the answer for you, okay? That, guys, you're gonna get respected more. Don't feel like you have to be that know-it-all, because when you tell somebody the wrong information, that's when you lose. 5 years ago, I did an investment property for a family. They asked me, how much is it for the home inspection? I said, oh, home inspection would be $450. I said, it's about $450. Home inspection was $462. The wife asked me for $12 at the closing table. And I gave it to her because she was right. And now I say $450 to $500, or even go over the number. But when you guys do a seller net sheet, right, you're going to adjust some of those numbers up a little bit, such as like an HOA transfer fee. We might not know what it is. We'll put it in a ballpark. We'll have them ask and find out and get the answer around that for us, the homeowners. Yet I want to make that number smaller than what they're actually going to receive. Because if I tell you, Tom, that you're going to make $52,000 off of this sale of this property, and you make 53 or 54, are you going to be mad at me? I didn't think so. What happens if you make 49? Yeah, well, maybe your next purchase you were putting 50 grand down on, and you were using all the proceeds from this, and now you don't make that, right? So guys, promise me, the almost, the kindas, the really close, there and abouts, we don't play that game, okay? And understand that the lender is going to give a good faith estimate, and the attorney is going to come together with the numbers and put it all together for the closing disclosure. All right. And so, make sure you're having that communication. Don't say, oh, I know that the lender fees are this, that, or the other thing, right? Because you don't know. And it's not your job. Stay in your lane, right? All right. Early response, how to play defense, right? How do we play defense in uncertain or questionable times, right? How do we make sure that we're protecting our clients to the best of our ability? COVID's a perfect example, right? People are coming out with masks, gloves, Lysol wipes. In listings, we're putting booties, gloves, Lysol wipes out on the counter, okay? For everybody to use, everybody feels safe and clean. As a result, it's gonna, and obviously not Mecklenburg County, okay? Not Mecklenburg County, all right? So PJ said I could do this, all right? Don't want any of that, all right? That's one of those there and about conversations. So make sure that you guys are doing everything to take proper precautions. Virtual tours, right? Even if, your seller can go ahead and FaceTime around the house and record it and shoot it over to you, and you can go ahead and pass that over to the buyer's agent, right? Guys, there's a lot of different things we can do to stay within the parameters. Canopy sent out another message this week about how they are trying to get some restrictions lifted in Mecklenburg County because there's been rumors or stories of people that are just saying, well, fine, if you can't help me because we're doing what we need to do to follow the law, I'm just going to go and talk to the seller myself. I see there's a sign in the yard, see you later, buyer's agent, and then just go and do it. So they are working very hard on doing that stuff. And of course, I'm sure you guys get all the emails. You will get them from us as well. We'll keep you updated. So remember, there's a gift and a shift. You guys have heard me say that a lot of times. There's going to be a lot of opportunity coming out of this. Guys, a little disappointed with the numbers on who has used and who has not used their free money from Keller Williams in order to go do their Facebook ads. Guys, we have 212 agents there and about, okay? We've had 9 people do it. Those numbers aren't good. And I know I'm not talking to everybody, and I'm probably not talking to the right people right now, because if you guys are on this, you guys are doing the right things. So help me get the message out there to the other agents, because at this point, it's just being lazy at this point. Sue's taught 2 classes on it. Shannon Avison, who's been with us since January, taught a class on command ads. Okay, guys, if they're saved in our Facebook, on our Facebook page. Guys, Sue is always there for you guys to reach out. Okay, so if you guys and I want you to help me deliver this message to everybody, because really it's an investment in yourself. And if you're not taking advantage of free money, like, who doesn't want free money? If somebody told me I was going to get free money, but I had to walk a mile down the street, I'd go walk a mile down the street. Like, let's be the proactive top agents that we know we are, and let's deliver that message out to everybody. So if you guys can help me with that, that would be awesome.
Can I take some of their money?
We'll talk about it, Christy.
Hey.
But
I can put some from Kim. I can put some from Kristen, some from Megan.
Yeah, well, the licensed people, but yeah. Those are the 12 tactics. So guys, we've been through the MREA. We've been through the shift. I'm going to have at least 1, possibly 2 more guests on next week to come and speak to you guys. Guys, get everybody on this Zoom. I think those of you that were on this yesterday got some really valuable information from Rob Talbot. I know that it was Facebook was blowing up like crazy with comments and responses and everything. So that was awesome. I've got something that I'm going to dive into next week. If you guys got some topics that you want to review, like shift, if you missed the tactic, I don't want to make this remedial for the people like Tom. I know you've been on here every single day. I appreciate that. Yet what other areas do you guys want to have conversations about? We're going to continue to do this every day at 2. Don't forget, we got team meeting coming up next week at 11. Katrina Rokel's going to run our team meeting. I've got another meeting that I have to be on at 11, but I will be joining team meeting when I can get off of that. We've got, again, she's doing her scripts every morning with the productivity coaching group. I got some more information around some the new shifting times that fits right into what we're talking about with bulletproofing your transactions. It's going to go out in today's update. My director of operations took a webinar on it. Some really good information in her notes that I'm going to share with all you guys as well. So guys, there's a lot of good information in those daily update emails that go out. So please make sure you're reading them. I know sometimes it's a lot of content, but it's a lot of good stuff. Other than that, any questions, comments, concerns, anything you guys have for me?
What's your topics for next week?
Where is it? Profit First. Profit First is a book. So we're going to be talking about that because right now I think that's extremely relevant to what's going on. Anything else? Any other questions? Cool. All right, guys. Make it a great day. Love you. Have a good weekend.
Thanks.
I'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.